Welcome back to the Too Much Curb podcast. This is Michael Santos, your host, coming with all of the hottest takes of someone who is watching Formula One for the second year, making me the most credible source for information, of course. So, yeah, welcome back. We have this is the first of a doubleheader. What unfortunately is going to probably end up being the most boring doubleheader of all time. And then right after that, we have Monaco the week after. So May is shaping out to be not that exciting, but nonetheless, it's Formula One, so can't complain. I've never seen a Monaco before, Monaco GP, so I'm still excited. There's still the show that comes with it, you know, and it's a hard track to drive in. So I think that what we'll get the most entertainment from with Monaco is going to be the qualifying portion of it. But we're not talking about Monaco today. No, we're talking about the Portuguese GP. Yeah, the race was terrible. It's so weird because the track is so cool. There's so much like the elevation changes are so crazy. With city circuits, you get the blind corners. You get them in the horizontal plane. Like Baku, you've got those walls that are keeping you from seeing where you're turning into. And this track, I forgive me, I forget what the name of the track is, but going up and down, like you get a vertical blind spot, and that's really cool. The track is like a roller coaster. I saw the on-track guide that Lewis Hamilton did, where he analyzed his pole lap from 2020, and damn, that's scary, man. That's scary because you're accelerating, you're approaching the exit of the turn, and you don't see where you're going, and he's saying like, oh, you're just hoping that, you know, you're in clear air when you leave there, you know, if somebody spun there and like or something, you know, they don't tell you over the radio, you can find yourself in a very bad situation. But you know, that's why they're Formula One drivers and I'm not. But yeah, it wasn't great for racing. The track was a bit of a roller coaster, and like a roller coaster, it seemed to just kind of just play out on rails. I thought that heading into this there was going to be some accidents, some more spins, and probably maybe having it right after Imola, which is another track that is very punishing. Doesn't have like all the runoffs and all that kind of stuff that comes with these Teal tracks. Yeah, I thought it was gonna be a bit more exciting, but it really wasn't. It was really disappointing. It was a very 2020 race, you know. Lewis got the win, Verstappen and Bottas behind. It just felt very 2020. It felt like I was watching last year. You know, this isn't the racing that I was promised at the beginning of the year. What the hell? The first two races were sick. I thought Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton were going to be fighting every track. That didn't happen. What the hell? But nevertheless, there are some highlights. You know, I really liked Lewis's overtake on Bottas. I'm like, damn, that was sick. That was clean around the outside. And then I saw a bunch of other overtakes at turn one that were also sick. I think that corner is just super cool. Because when you see the onboard, you know, a lot of tracks, first corner is like a hairpin or like, you know, something they have to take in like second gear. But this one is like a very quick, like, cha, like, just like that. You know, you're supposed to see what I'm doing with my hands right now. Cha! You know, it's just a quick right turn. I like that a lot. I like those. Those are really cool turns. But yeah, there was a lot of really cool overtakes I think Alonso over Ricardo was another cool one that I saw. I think I saw Ocon overtaking somebody there, but I could just be imagining Alonso again. But yeah, but that overtake on Bottas was really great. I was thinking about it. I think Bottas is in a lot of compilations for greatest overtakes because he doesn't know how to defend very well. You know, he doesn't have the racecraft that Lewis Hamilton does. He just kind of more depends on the speed of the car, and he's fantastic during qualifying. That's, you know, he got pole position this last race. Didn't make any difference in the end, but yeah, he's good over a lap. He's not very good in traffic or stopping people from passing him. But the race ended up that Max and Valtteri were making pit stops to get the fastest lap in the end. And anytime that there's a gap so massive that you can just get new tires with no problem without worrying about being overtaken, yeah, typically the race isn't great, you know. So far that I've seen, there's probably some examples of last year that I'll eat crow with, you know, with the leaders are, you know, pitting for tires to get fastest lap, but the midfield is absolutely nuts. But even the midfield in this race wasn't that great. But yeah, Max continues his fight with track limits, gets him again right there at the end, and it did look like, you know, when they were showing the thing, it was like he went a bit wide. And I was hearing that it was because of, like, the wind. But, you know, still, he went wide. And it got him, I think he only beat his time by, like, 1/100th of a second. Beat Valtteri's time. But, yeah, he was not happy. Did you guys see that interview afterwards? He's like, oh, they're, like, saying, so it turns out your lap was actually deleted. He's like, oh, that's funny because there is no that. This is my. Is this my Dutch accent? I don't. He does. Fuck. I don't know how to do a Dutch accent. I'm not even gonna try. He's like that's funny because there was no track limits at 14. And how are we still having this? This is a new thing this year, is it not? Like I think there was like a couple times last year where they're like people were getting like lap times deleted, but them telling people like, hey, there's no track limits this weekend. What? What is that? I don't know. That's just silly. I wasn't paying enough attention to turn number 14 to see if other drivers were also getting away with going pretty wide there, but I don't think that's the case. But anyway, going on to the rest of the grid, the Alpines were very quick. So that's cool. You know, maybe we'll see a bit more. Maybe they're getting their stuff together. Ocon was very racy all weekend, keeping up with the pack. He had the juice. You know, we saw some great racing from him. And Alonso at the end, making great overtakes at the end there. It was really cool. He passed Ricardo and he passed Sainz, and he's like, who's next? He was gunning them down. But it was nice to see them get it together for this weekend. Let's see if it translates to anywhere else, because so far they've been pretty toothless. Same with Aston Martin. Aston Martin are significantly worse off, I think. They didn't. Vettel made it to Q3 this race, but I don't even know where he finished. I don't think he finished in the points. Let's see. Portuguese GP results. I should probably have this up, especially when the race finished a couple days ago. I'm supposed to know what exactly happened. Where did he finish? Where is his name? He finished 13th. Yeah, he didn't finish in the points. He started 10th and finished 13th. And that car's slow, man. The car's real slow. Lance Stroll finished out of the points too. They're not looking great. I don't know. I'm surprised I didn't hear. I haven't heard. It's really weird. Maybe I haven't been paying attention, but I feel like there wasn't a lot of news between Imola Grand Prix and the Portuguese Grand Prix. It's all been pretty lukewarm as far as anything happening outside of the races, so I don't know. I can't think of anything that exciting that happened outside of this race. Okay, so before I just end up sitting here on the computer looking for news to talk about, let's continue talking a little bit about the race. McLaren, they looked great. Lando Norris is exceeding all expectations. I don't think that anyone would have predicted Lando getting best of the rest so many times. He finished 5th on Sunday. A lot of people were thinking he was going to get smashed by Ricciardo. I didn't really agree with that. And if you listen to my second episode, I talked about predictions for the year, and I think that Lando. I mean, I thought that Ricciardo's going to beat Lando, but I don't think he's going to get obliterated by him, and that might still be the case. Daniel kicked out of Q3 or Q1. That was incredibly disappointing. I really don't know what happened there. I don't know. I didn't hear what happened. I think that actually, I did hear something that he got one of the turns wrong, and it kind of like killed him, and he spent the rest of his lap trying to keep up with that and make up for it. Because he was fast during practice, he was fast during the race, obviously. Yeah, it just didn't work for qualifying for him, but he made up for it. He bounced up from 16th to 9th. You can't ask for more than that. And apparently, I mean, we're only 3 races in, so let's not jinx it. We'll knock on wood here. But McLaren are the only ones that have had both drivers finishing in the points every race so far. So that's a great stat. You know what I mean? Ricciardo isn't at 100% right now, obviously, but still, that's still a lot more than you can say for a lot of these new drivers that are in their seats. And I talked about last episode, so I'm not going to spend too much time on that. But yeah, very little practice time, getting used to a new car. It's to be expected. But he did great this weekend, and especially when it comes to a track being as punishing as this one is, I think that he was in a much better spot. I think with last week with the rain, and that combined with how the track is, it made it for a difficult time. But I think this time he did pretty well. I think everybody did pretty well. Like I said, there wasn't really any accidents. There was Kimi. Kimi had made a very uncharacteristic mistake. Not the very Iceman of him. I don't know why I use an Eastern European accent for everybody. Forgive me. I'm sorry. Kimi just kind of looks like this. And I think he after the race, he was like, yes, it was not a very ideal situation. And when he ran into the back of Gio, it was just really weird. I don't know what happened there. It just reminds me of like when I'm racing and I'm like trying to scroll through like the MFD or something like that online, or I mean when I'm racing on the computer and looking up and realizing I've missed my turn, but they don't get the benefit of going backwards or whatever. Sonoda is kind of anonymous at the moment. I think that something that was talked about a bit between the races is Tsunoda going on about that he's kind of trying to bite off a little more than he can chew, trying to over what sort of I'm looking for, overexerting himself and ending up underperforming because of how much he's overexerting, and he ends up making mistakes, spins, etc., etc. So he finished 15th, looks like, this weekend, which is not fantastic at all. That's terrible. But he's a rookie. He'll get used to it. I don't think he's ever raced on this track before. And like I said, it's a very complicated track. It's to be expected. I think that we're going to see Yuki really jump up and really make more of an impact. Because, he made that first impact in Bahrain. And I feel like we've seen little moments of brilliance from him, but yeah, I think he needs to just kind of slow down a little bit and kind of ease in more to his seat. I know that Red Bull is a very I don't want to say toxic. It's a very demanding organization to be a part of. Obviously, not all drivers can do it. I mean, we have drivers on the grid right now who purposely moved away from Red Bull, and Daniel and Carlos Sainz and Vettel, but that's a different story. He won them four championships, but I mean, still, and they just chewed and spit out two more guys in Gasly and Albon. Gasly's, thank God, still has a driving seat. Albon is the backup driver, and I think he's driving for DTM. I think that's the name of the series. But yeah, I can totally understand. When it comes to Yuki or Sergio, to really want to hone in and deliver great performances. And Sergio Perez did a great job this weekend too. Drove 53 laps on mediums. Wowee. But that's what he's known for. He's known for conserving his tires. It was really funny when he was running in first because he hadn't pitted yet, and then Lewis just goes, blue flag. He's like, nope, you're racing him. He's like, what? There's two Red Bulls? What? But yeah. So moving on to another rookie, Mick Schumacher. He's looking great. He had that overtake on Latifi. That's pretty awesome, especially considering that Haas is significantly worse than Williams right now, even though that Williams was a dog this weekend too. Latifi didn't have the race pace this past weekend, and George Russell, while he qualified 18th, he dropped like a freaking rock. God, no, did I say 18th? He qualified 11th. He finished 16th, but he dropped like a rock, like hard. And at first I was like, man, George Russell getting into 11th place and not being able to make anything happen. That's like, we've seen it like several times, but yeah, that car wasn't great in traffic. But I see, that's why I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I'm an expert. I'll joke around that I am, and I talk in front of a microphone, just give you my little hot takes. You know what I mean? Just from somebody who's new to the sport, who watches this casually, who really likes the sport, but. Can someone explain to me why that'll happen? Okay, this weekend, like if he's in dirty air, that he like falls apart. And not last weekend, but Imola, he was like up Valtteri Bottas's ass, about to pass, and then they had that accident. So I don't understand. Like, I know that they changed some aerodynamic things, like race to race. And yeah, the answer probably is very simple, that they had a very different aerodynamic setup. But I don't know. I guess they just need to scrap this one. So is it something that you should expect to see from Williams for the rest of the season? I don't think so. It doesn't make sense to me, right? But I don't know. I'm just some guy. I'm just some guy watching Formula One. You know what I mean? They fast cars. They just go around the track. I just like seeing them go real fast. And what about our other rookie, Mazepin? He didn't spin this week. Well, he spun during practice, but he didn't spin during the race, and I was almost disappointed. But he blocked Sergio Perez. He screwed up there. He apologized, though. I'm not going to give him too much shit for that. But something I did want to kind of talk about, though, is what I find to be the dumbest idea ever. So, if you notice, during the race, they didn't announce who the driver of the day was. Okay? And all over Twitter, all over Reddit, people were like, vote for Mazepin, vote for Mazepin as driver of the day. I don't know, stick it to the FIA or Formula One. Please explain to me where that makes sense. Okay, so we've had joke drivers of the day before, like Hulk last season. They accidentally showed that he was winning driver of the day where he didn't even start the race that he was being voted in. Okay. It happens, you know what I mean? And voting for Mazepin, as much as stupid as it is, like, we'll come back to that, but people are saying, like, oh, they didn't show you as driver of the day. We're just going to keep this going until they do, so they see how much we hate him. It's like, okay, all right, logically, where does this work out? Because all they're going to do is continue not showing who the driver of the day was. And afterwards, they said, oh, driver of the day was Perez. And Perez did great. Okay, Perez did awesome. He was not. I don't think that people voted for him driver of the day. Just like last time, they said that Lewis Hamilton won driver of the day, and I'm like, no, Hamilton's great, but people don't usually vote for him for driver of the day because he wins every weekend. So I'm just not getting where this makes sense, because what. They're gonna see that he's just clogging this up, and if anything, they'll just take it away. You know what I mean? They'll just get rid of it, or just go to the voting page and he's not even there. What'll probably more likely to happen. It's just like such a stupid thing. It's like, I think that yes, we can. It could be hashtag we say no to Mazepin, and that having him in the sport isn't great, and he is terrible. He finished a minute behind everybody else. He is an awful driver. His performance is speaking for itself. This little, I don't know what to call it. Is it even this protest that's going on? I think it's silly. It's like, do I want, what do we want to happen to show that Mazepin won driver of the day? Some casual fan who's going to watch and doesn't seem and doesn't follow F1 or know why people hate Mazepin could see that and be like, oh man, this guy's finishing in last, but fans are really supportive. I don't know. And it's stupid. It's a stupid award. It's not even worth getting worked up over, and I'm honestly not. I'm just genuinely curious why this is a thing. I think it's cool to have some fan interaction in a race, and I think that this is a really good way to give it without the Formula E stuff, which if you don't know what Formula E does, they have this thing called Fan Boost. And forgive me, I don't know the total details of this, but the fans will vote on a racer, and that race car driver will get like something like a 5-second, let's call it ERS, to make them go faster for 5 seconds. That is dumb. I don't understand that. And, I don't watch Formula E, so I'm just speaking out of turn. But, hey, this is the Too Much Curb podcast. This is how it works. But, yeah, it's. I think that's really dumb. But I think Driver of the Day is really cool. I think that drivers who normally wouldn't get the time of day, they're not on the podium. They're not winning races. I think it's cool to see that the fans see what you did and appreciated it. I think that somebody like Alonso, I think would have been a perfect person to give it to. I think that Ricardo also deserved it for going from 16th to 9th. I also think that probably Lando Norris deserved it too, just for holding out for this long. Sergio Perez, sure, too. Why not? I'm not super upset that they gave it to him. Like I said, it doesn't even mean anything. But it doesn't make sense to me. And I think that we can protest Mazepin, but at the same time, like, this is doing nothing. It's not doing anything except getting just ruining a part of the race that I personally like seeing who gets that. Anyway, enough about that. Honestly, this race was so plain and so it was a very run of the mill race. I'm not gonna say it was boring. It's still Formula One, and I'm not looking forward to next week. The only solace that I have in the Spanish, in a lot of the times, if you're not familiar, the Spanish GP, besides the track not being the best place for racing, something else that is bad about the Spanish GP is that these drivers have done so much testing there. Okay? And since they've done so much testing, like, they know this track like the back of their hand. There is no Imola, there is no Portuguese GP of being new with the track, So very little mistakes are made. Everybody knows exactly what they need to do. They know the exact setup that they need. It's just not typically a good time. But they didn't test there this year. They tested in Bahrain. And it was a very short testing period. So we have a lot of new drivers and new cars. So, and everybody's got new packages this year, so maybe it'll make it a little more exciting. But I'm not going to hold my breath. I remember last year that the Spanish Grand Prix and Sochi were the two worst races of last year. But yeah, and you know what? Funny too, I mentioned last podcast, that I've never been to the St. Pete Grand Prix, or it's called the Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, I believe. It's an IndyCar race here in the city where I live in. I said I need to kind of go out and see it sometime. And what ended up happening is it was last weekend, so really worked itself out. It was really weird. It's been really weird with COVID because you never know when it's going to be. It's usually held in March, I believe. It's the first race of the IndyCar season. I don't follow IndyCar at all, but it was really fun to go see. I insisted on going both days. It's actually 3 days. The first day is a lot of practice, but we went the second and third day, and the second day is a lot of qualifying and other races. So I wanted to see like all of the classes of races because I've never been before. It was really cool to see it live. It was really neat. That first day, too, they have like super trucks were freaking amazing. Those are awesome. They're like driving, like they're on 3 wheels. They put ramps in the middle of the racetrack. There's a way to make your race a little more exciting. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. They had the MX-5 Cup. And ironically, the MX-5s were so much louder than anything else. They had they had Indy Lights, they had IndyCar, they had like USF 2000, they had the Super Trucks. Nothing was as loud as those MX-5s. And since since these cars aren't based on like aerodynamics like Formula One is, and other reasons too, the racing is super close. A lot of times that the slower the car is, the better the racing is. I've noticed, and I've heard other people say. I don't know how true it is, but I've seen it true in a lot of cases. And IndyCar was a lot of fun. The race was super cool. It's very weird seeing only one section of the track. And how it worked for the St. Pete Grand Prix is that you can buy the grandstand seating, which is probably more ideal, but it was 3 times the price of like just the regular tickets. And the regular tickets is basically for anywhere else on the track. Typically like the second sector. I don't know if it was the second sector, but I'm guessing between second and third sector. And you can walk around to different turns. So that's what we would do. We're in a spot where like right behind us, probably like 50 feet away, was one part of the track, and then the other part was another. So we were able to see different spots of the track while the race is going. And there was only one screen in the area, and it was only on one side. So when you're watching the rest of the race, you're like, it's really hard to keep track of who's winning, who's who, what's going on, if there was an accident on another part of the track, what the pit strategy is, all of that stuff. So I brought up the stream on my phone while we're watching the race. But that was an interesting experience. I think that seeing it in grandstands is probably the most ideal thing. You can see the pit lane, you can see who's winning, and they have the vast majority of screens over there, and all the loudspeakers saying like who's on whatever. So really cool experience. No idea what the hell was going on besides what I was looking at. It was neat to see. It was Colton Herta. I believe that's what his name is. Herta is definitely his last name. I'm pretty sure that his first name is Colton. He was in first. He started on pole. Was first the whole time, but that second place guy, I don't remember who it was, but he was fighting pretty hard towards the end of the race, and that was fun to see. He probably like the last eighth of the race, Colton pulled away pretty hard, but yeah, it was a lot of fun. I said I was gonna follow, like I really should probably follow IndyCar, but they just had a race in Texas this last weekend, and I didn't watch either. I didn't watch that one. It's a lot of time to do it. It'll be one of those things where I'll just check out when it comes through. But yeah, that's really all I had to say for this weekend. Not a great race, but it had its moments. I'm hoping that I'm wrong about the Spanish Grand Prix. I hope it's great. I hope it's awesome. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Bye.